So Alan Webber heavily involved with the defence industry and obsolescence, which obviously can be mission or safety critical, can't it? But the obsolescence is all across industries all over the world, isn't it? What do we mean when we say obsolescence management?
Obsolescence management is a capability to minimize the risk to a business of any issue that is going to become in the future an obsolescence risk to that company. We split it into two basic areas. One is issues, that means something is already obsolete that we've got to react to. And the other one is risk. And this is looking at a future going forward as many years as what the customer would like to define the risk of obsolescence to their contracts, to their programs, to their equipment. Predominantly, obsolescence occurs because the items that go into a piece of equipment or a product actually have less life than the actual life of the equipment they enter into, and that's what causes obsolescence.
I was going to say, for obsolescence, for me, obsolescence management is asset performance and sustainment. It's the knowledge, the processes, the people, the organisation that you need to set up to enable the longevity of an asset and understand what the availability of that asset means across various functions, from designing the asset, making sure that you've got longevity in the items that go into it, through to the support solution arrangements, and right through to disposal, so the whole product life cycle.
So it's not about the whole unit. Let's take a car, for example. It's not about a car. The most likely things to become obsolete within a car are the elements within it. Can you give me an example there, Tim, of one of those elements within a car?
Right. So we've seen obsolescence in the car industry impacting the availability of car models and the costs going up due to silicon not being available. The shortage of silicon, therefore the production lines have been impacted, which means that on some models you haven't had the various capabilities or options that you might want, such as sat nav and others. So, not saying obsolescence could have solved that problem if you'd been aware of it, but certainly you could have looked at what other alternatives or what strategies you could have put in place if this particular occurrence was to happen again, to sort of maintain the production lines that you need. And we're seeing more and more companies now having obsolescence managers or resilience managers in place to ensure continuity of production.
We'll come on to that role later on in the podcast, but David, what drives obsolescence management? Is it technological changes? Is it legislation, or is it anything else, or is it a mix of all? What drives it really? What's the main factor, I suppose?
It's a mix of all of those issues that you come across there. In the world of technology, you've only got to look at, for example, in 1969 when the moon landing first occurred, that if you look at the spacecraft, it's basically toggle switches and red lights, not a lot more, with probably a few megabytes of memory. You look at your iPhone that you now have, it's got significantly greater power than what the capsule we sent to the moon is. And that's all within 20 or 30 years. You look at submarines, for example, in 1879, the first submarines were steam powered. By the 1950s, in the 50s, 60s, they were nuclear powered. So there's a significant technological changes that happen in those period of times. And of course, what you then tend to see is that the consumer products are actually driving a huge amount of technology change and availability of the items to the aerospace and defense industry as well.